I want you guys to be clear about this. We have to have trials. I've heard some people saying, well, I try everything that I can to prevent from me having problems. Well, guess what? You are not going to grow. Even if you're Christian, you are not going to grow spiritually unless you have trials. And I mean S, plural. You'll have a lot of problems throughout your life. That's what will make you grow. Okay? And James 1:3. It says, for you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. Como dice en Santiago 1:3, dice, bien saben que cuando su fe es puesta a prueba, produce paciencia. I like this. En Reina Valera Contemporánea me gusta como lo traduce. So, it's important that you guys know that you have to go through trials, because what does it say? It's going to make your endurance, which is your patience, your spiritual patience. It'll allow you to grow spiritually. Okay? And I want you to also know is that God's purpose in testing us is to display the enduring quality of our faith. He wants us to get better. He wants us to get better. All he wants is the good things. He doesn't want bad things for us. So whenever you are having those trials and you think it's for the bad, that is not correct. He allows you to go, he tests your heart. He allows you to go through these things. So then he's trying to show you something where you haven't discovered yet. So then it will make you stronger in your faith, spiritual life, and everything. Whether it's prayer, whether it's fasting, whether it's reading the word, understanding the word. And there's no way to prevent trials from happening. It has to happen, just like I was saying. And how are we going to grow, of course? And how are we going to get to the next level? There's levels. Now, specifically, the Bible doesn't say what's the name of this level, what's the name of this level. But what I mean is we have seasons. We have areas in our life that will seem like it's forever. But it's only for a little while. If you go up to verse 6 on 1 Peter 1, it says that you will go through trials, but only for a little while. And I want you to have that close to your heart, because it's true. It may seem like it's a year, or maybe it was a year, 2 years, 3 years. Me, 40 years until I was saved. I gave all my heart to the Lord. It took me 40 years. You guys already know why I asked the Lord why it took him a long time to save me, right? But it took me 4 years. So even though it was 40 years, it still is a little while. And our walk with Jesus is a process. We go through different seasons, like I was saying, different trials in our life to get to the ultimate goal. What is the goal? The goal is whenever we have issues that we laugh at the issues and we praise to the Lord, because we know that there's something good that's going to come out of this. What are you talking about? So I have to cry and suffer in order for things to be good? Yeah. But the goal is to glorify God in every single moment that we have, is to glorify God, because he allowed us to go through that so then we can discover what we have, what we need to change, or what we need to get rid of, so then we can be mature, we can be stronger spiritually, and we can be stronger mentally, physically, everything. So he does it, and so then we can see the truth, what he wants to reveal to us. He reveals things to us in such a mysterious way? Well, I always ask him that. Why do you reveal things to me in such a mysterious way? Or why did you reveal it to me like that? Of course, I'm not asking him like in a rude way. You know, I'm in prayer and I'll be crying and be like, why did you do it like that? Why couldn't you do it easier? No, you need to do it when in a hard way. So whenever you say, for example, okay, so I'm sure you guys heard your mom and your dad said, hey, don't touch that. You're gonna burn, or you're gonna burn yourself like the stove, right? Don't go there because you're gonna hit your head. And what happens? We don't listen, right? And what do? Ow. What do? Ow. We hit our head or we get burned. We start to cry. Ah. But then our parents are like, hey, we told you. So we can't protect it all the time. So that's what the Father says, right? The Father says, I don't want you to do this. But then if we don't listen and we end up doing what the Lord asks us not to do, we'll suffer, we'll cry, we'll be like, why'd you do that, Lord? But then he does it because he wants you to learn. He wants you to be like, hey, I'm revealing this to you so you can take it out of your life and you can change. Okay? So, we all play sports here, right? I'm sure in sports, anybody play sports where there was JV, like freshman, JV, varsity? Here, I don't know, I know sé cómo es en Mexico, but like when you're in school and you play for middle school or high school, you go, even the golf team, like there's golf, JV, golf, varsity, everything, I'm pretty sure, right? Everybody has had that experience, right? So, what happens, what do we have to do to get to the varsity? We have to be the best, we have to take a test, right? We have to take a trial, right? We have to go through they time us. I don't know if you guys remember, but we did in the gyms, we would go back and forth and they would time us. If we had the fastest time, then we are good. We can qualify for varsity. So there's qualifications to get to the next level, right? That's what I mean by whenever you're going through these trials and you overcome it, you go to the next level of maturity. You go to the next level of strength mentally. Go through the next level of strength spiritually. So that's what I mean. It's like a promotion, right? If you think of it that way. Also, for people who have jobs here, who work, right? I know you've shared with me that you've been promoted different times. And you were interviewed. I'm sure you were tested. I'm sure you had to go through a trial. Like, I'm sure there's specific qualifications that you have to pass in order for you to get to the next level of promotion. Well, that's what it is. You're being promoted to the next level. And that's how we get to the next level after a trial and we overcome it, right? We go to the next level, we get promoted to the next level. So, what happened to Abraham? You guys know the story of Abraham. I always encourage you guys to read the stories in the Old Testament because they give a great lesson in different ways. And so the story of Abraham, the Lord tested Abraham in a way that no one will want to be tested. What did he do? If you guys remember, the Lord asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son. Well, he had another son, but technically he's his only son, right? And what did Abraham do? He was willing to sacrifice his son because he had faith and he knew that the Lord can probably resurrect him or something, right? But he was willing. He had the wood. He was ready, you know. So he was willing to do it. And then what happens? The angel of the Lord's like, stop, Abraham. No, you know, he was stuck. And then what happened to Abraham? He became the father of faith. In the book of Hebrews, it says he's the father of faith. That he was blessed, his descendants were blessed. So because of him, because of that act of faith, because he was willing, you know. So he got promoted to that. And for also the story of Joseph, I'm sure You guys know the story of Joseph, which I also encourage you. The story of Joseph is like seeing a telenovela. Like seriously, it's like so good. And it makes you cry, and it just makes you like, you know, there's drama and the family, there's jealousy, they sell him to be a slave, there's revenge, there's hate, there's just so much things, but then there's forgiveness, reconciliation, you know, the whole story. So Joseph, even though he had severe, like extreme fear of the Lord, he had a lot of faith in the Lord, he trusted in the Lord, he was sold into slavery by his only brother, all of his brothers, and then he was tested by the wife of Potiphar, which is like the main high-end guy who lived in Egypt. He became his slave. And Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with Joseph, but he was like, no, you are my master's wife. And he had fear of the Lord. What happened? She reported him and gave false testimony saying that he raped her, or he tried to rape her, and then he was imprisoned. And then he suffered, and then he has a gift of how to interpret dreams. And the Pharaoh had a dream, and he interpreted the dream. What ended up happening with Joseph after all those 13 years of slavery? He ended up being the second in command in all of Egypt. And he became the person who brought his brothers together to repentance for what they did to him, and that they were all prosperous, that, you know, the Hebrews. And so, Israelites. And so, he was promoted, right? It's because of his faith, he was promoted. That's the same way it is here. Okay? Anybody know, of course, if you guys read the verse, it says that it's being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. So I was wondering, how do we purify gold? Anybody know how to purify gold? Anybody seen a video how gold is purified? It's pretty interesting. There's different processes. There's different ways to do it. I was going to show you a video, but I don't want to take long, so I'm just going to tell you. There's a process where it's called the Miller process. Basically what they do is they melt the gold, they take out the impurities of the gold, and then once they take out the impurities, then they, it's called a chloride slag, and once they remove it, and then it gets hard and it dries and it becomes purified gold. So what's the thing here? So what is Peter trying to tell us here? Peter is saying that our faith is tested like fire, right? And it tests, and so our faith is tested like fire tests to purify gold, right? Your faith will be placed in the fire. What is the fire? The fire is the problems, right? The fire is our trials, mentally, physically, a bad news, you're going through a sickness, just bad stuff, right? So the fire is the problem, right? And it's up to you now how you want to deal with the trials. Are you not going to do anything and not get rid of the impurities? What are the impurities here? If you really meditate this verse in your heart, the impurities are the negative thoughts, are the things that separate you from the Lord, are the ones that prevent you from having faith. Those are the impurities. So if you don't do anything and you let the impurities basically control your life, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go to the next level. Or you can get rid of those impurities, get rid of those problems, get rid of those negative thoughts, get rid of the depression that you may feel, or let a bad news affect you, make you angry, if you take it all out, then you purify your faith and you get to the next level where the goal is whenever you get to those trials, that you can rejoice and you can praise. Thank you, Lord, for the problems, for the trials, because I know that it's going to strengthen my endurance, it's going to strengthen my character, like it says around, strengthen my hope into salvation, right? So that's what Peter's trying to say here. So please, don't allow the trial to overcome your faith. Remove them from your heart. Pray, read the word, and fast. Seek the Lord. Sing worship music. And also, what did Peter say? Your faith is so precious, like mere gold. It's so precious. That's why it says that you will discover how genuine your faith is when you go through these trials. Our faith, why is our faith so precious? Why is our faith so precious? You want to ask. Because our faith, with our faith we are saved and given the most precious gift of all, which is the grace of the Father. That's what saves us, is by our faith, right? So we got to continue being strong. We got to continue to trust in the Lord, to seek the Lord whenever you're having problems. I'll give examples. Someone is talking bad about you. Someone doesn't treat you well. Someone physically hurts you. Someone mentally hurts you. You receive bad news that someone is very sick that you love. What are you going to do? What is your next step? What will get you to the next step? That's by praying. That's why it's so important. I will always repeat and repeat and repeat how important prayer is. In my walk with Jesus 3 years ago, I went through so many trials. And it was just non-stop problems. And I was so confused because I thought, well, I've been delivered. I was delivered by these demons, right? Even though I was still seeing demons. And I feel free, and I feel saved, and I'm very grateful. But why am I still feeling so terrible? Why am I having these struggles? Why is it not going so well? I thought when you're saved, of course, I was still learning, so I didn't really fully know that you're always going to go through trials, that you have to go through suffering. Even Jesus told his disciples, you have to suffer, you will suffer in my name's sake, right? So we need to go through these trials so that we can be bigger, so that we can go to the next level, and we can start eating solid food. Because also the Apostle Paul says, when we're first saved, we're like babies drinking milk. But then the stronger spiritually, of course, that's figurative, it's not really literal. But when we're going through our trials and we start understanding the word and we go through the trials and we overcome them, then we're starting to eat solid food. So I know it's difficult, especially in these times right now with you guys being young adults. I'm telling you, the pastor is the whole congregation is praying for you guys. I'm praying for you guys. And it's I can only imagine how difficult it must be now. It was difficult me being a young adult back then, in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s. But now that there's technology, digital, there's cell phones, there's social media, I can only imagine how more difficult it is for you guys. And I tell you guys this because I understand what you guys go through. So really apply this to your life, and whenever you have a problem, go to the Father, give everything to Him, seek the Lord, pray, fast, and read the Word. If you're really suffering, like really sad, and you have a sibling, that's why it's so good that we have siblings, because we can all pray for each other, and you even can ask your mom and your dad. I'm always willing to pray for you guys, but sometimes we just need a hug, just have a hug, you know, and then you just start hugging. But whenever the sibling, I'm talking to the sibling now, the sibling or me as a parent, if my son asks me for a hug, I'm going to automatically pray for him. So, siblings, if your sibling is telling you, please, I just need a hug, automatically start praying for them. Pray for them even whenever they're sleeping. I pray for the boys whenever they're sleeping, but when they're in the process of going to sleep, and I pray for them, and I would just ask that that the people that they meet have good hearts, and that they don't go through a lot of trials, even though I know that they will go through trials. But as a mother, you want them to be okay, right? I'm pretty sure all parents want that for all of us, right? So, can we all do that? Can we all apply this when it gets hard and when it gets to the point where you want to quit? That's where you need to push more prayer. That's where you need to push more. Read the Word. Read the Psalms. The Psalms always help me. The Psalms 27 helps me. Psalm 16, Psalm 18, Psalm 91 when it's like attack or something. Psalm 91 is good. Psalm 100, even though it's about praise and entering in the gates of heaven with full praise, shouts of joy. I love Psalms 100. And then of course, read the Gospels, read what Jesus says, the parables. Those always make me feel better. Those are the times where you need to really push. Okay, so those are things that I ask. If you guys have a question and you're interested in doing it, if you even need guidance on how to pray, of course you always ask the Lord, Father, I just want to learn how to pray. Can you help me? But if you have any questions, that's what I'm here for. My husband's here for, and even each other. That's why it's important that we do these things so we can all be here together. We have different upbringings. We've been in the church all our lives. We have that we've just recently gone to the church, so we all need to help each other. Because what is the second thing what is the most important commandment that Jesus says that it's, even though it's the second one, it's the first, you have to love your neighbor, right? And also Jesus told his disciples, you guys, by loving each other, proves that you guys are my disciples. So we all must love one another, right? We all must want to help. And also Jesus said that you want to give your life up for that person, not really literally giving your life, but that if you notice that your brother and sister is struggling, say they want water, go get water for them, honor them, help them out. You see that they're cold, give them something like, if you have a sweater, give them a sweater, stuff like that. So